are you all doing? Today is Friday, November 18th, and I am back for my stitching update. It's been the usual 2 weeks since my last one. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. My name is Olivia, and this is Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. This is a video podcast where I chat about my cross stitching as well as my quilting. However, if quilting is not something you're interested in seeing or hearing, I show it a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they'll be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? I can't believe it's already been another 2 weeks since my last video. The weeks are just flying by at supersonic speed. I also realized the other day that when I filmed my last video, I think I had talked about my plans, things that I wanted to get done in between the last video and this one, and I really didn't do any of it. But I do want to say a thank you to everybody who sent birthday wishes my way. It was so sweet of so many of you guys to think of me and to send me those messages and cards in the mail and text messages and emails, and it was just so sweet of all of you guys. It was a good day. My birthday was last Saturday, and I had my family over, and I ended up cooking dinner for all of them. And it's only because the dinner that I decided that I wanted to cook or wanted to have for my birthday, I'm really the only one that knows how to make it. So I went ahead and I did that, and it was totally fun. I had a good time. I think everybody else did too. And I got a lot of really cool stuff. I got a Lowry floor stand, which is something that I've wanted for a while. And my husband and my kids got it for me, and I've used it for a week now, and I absolutely love it. I stitch in bed, so that is where it is at. The husband is gonna have to jury rig something to get it a little bit taller. Right now it's just sitting on a box with my son's weight on top of it. But I've really enjoyed using it. And I had got an Amazon gift card for my dad, so I bought a larger scroll frame, and I will be able to use that with the Lowry. And I'm really looking forward to it because I have been stitching a lot of larger samplers, and it would be kind of nice to put it on a scroll frame and just sort of have it open instead of sort of squashed up into a Q-snap like I normally do. So I'm looking forward to that, and that'll be here next week. So I can't wait. But yeah, it was a really good birthday. And again, thank you to everybody who sent messages to me. It meant so much to me. So thank you so very much. I did have a couple of questions on my last video that I thought I would go ahead and answer directly. The first one is about the pie safe that is behind me on this little table. It is called a Amish Primitive Country Pie Safe, and I purchased it from an online shop called Antique Farmhouse. And I did just pull it up right now, and it is showing that it is out of stock. It does occasionally go out of stock. It's a pretty popular, when the site gets it, they go pretty quickly. When I purchased it, it was $76. It looks like it still is, and then I did get it with free shipping from that particular website. However, I did see it available on Amazon, and then there was another shop that looked like they carried it as well. So if you just type in Amish, I think I typed in Amish Country Pie Safe because I couldn't remember exactly what it was called, and then I saw the one on Amazon and then the one on the other website pop up. And mine was a few other different keywords, and then I finally found it. I don't think there's any way where you can, receive an email when they do have it in stock, but they do occasionally get it, so you just have to keep checking back. I absolutely love mine, and I've really enjoyed decorating. I am still learning how to decorate and style it, but I really like it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially during Christmas, because I have a lot more small, like little Christmas things I can put in it. I purchased mine, I want to say middle to end of spring of this past year, and I had to wait almost a year because I procrastinated when I saw it available. And then it was out of stock for I think about 6 months, and then I just happened to go on there, and I didn't hesitate this last time, but I did have to wait for it a little while, and but it's definitely well worth the wait, and I loved it. It came really fast, it came well packaged, which was really nice, but I love it. And the last question is about the quilt that is hanging up behind me. It is called Pumpkin Patch, and it is from the magazine Primitive Quilts and Projects, and you can get it as just the quilt as a PDF download on their website, and it's a lot of fun. I love it. One of my favorite ones that I've made. I get to enjoy it for another week, and then everything gets taken down after Thanksgiving and Christmas goes up. Well, since Fred made the mistake of walking past me while I was filming, I decided to grab him and go ahead and show him. He looks thoroughly irritated, right? Yeah. Anyway, I couldn't resist showing him. I know a lot of you guys like seeing him in every video, so here's the little rascal. And now he's gonna go off and take a nap. All right, so in today's video, I have my progress that I've done over the past 2 weeks. I do have past finishes to show in today's video. I don't have a whole lot of progress to show. In fact, I basically only really worked mainly on one project. So it's really good that I have some Thanksgiving finishes to show in today's video. Otherwise, my video would probably be like 5 minutes long. Okay, so let's start off with a progress. I have been working on Christmas Joy by Homespun Prims by Lori. So this started off as an evening stitch, and then I have been working on it in the morning over these past 2 weeks. Not the full 2 weeks, only about 7 days. But I really love working on this one. It is a beautiful little Christmas sampler. I am stitching it on a piece of 36 count legacy with the called for DMC, and this chart is available on Lori Rippey's website, and it is Homespun Prims by Lori. And here is my progress. So again, I am stitching it with the called for DMC, which all of the colors are absolutely beautiful. What I have left to stitch is the big giant tree, and then there is a little pot that's on beside the tree. So I'm hoping to get this one done by the end of November, because it would be kind of nice to get it into a frame and have it out for December. When I do decorate for Christmas, I start the day after Thanksgiving, and then typically everything comes down within a few days after Christmas is over. Definitely by the time the new year rolls around, the house is put back to normal. So I love this one so very much. It's so much fun to work on, and I will continue working on it as my morning stitch. A question that I just saw earlier, and I forgot to jot down. Take for instance Christmas Joy, and I say I'm stitching on a piece of 36 count legacy with the called for DMC 1/2. I've had some people ask what that means, and it means I'm stitching it with 1 strand of thread over 2 linen threads. I did have a brand new project that I started over the past 2 weeks. I have a new Sunday stitch. So my rotation looks a little bit different now than it typically does. But now that I've kind of whittled away at my mocking basket of whip, I decided that I can start working on other projects with my friends. And Yvette asked if I would be interested in joining her and Carol Craigo in stitching the ES Spot Motif Sampler on Sundays. And it is by A Female Worth. And you can purchase it as a PDF download from, I am blanking on the name of her shop, 1884 Stitchery, and I will make sure to put a link to it down below. So this is just my Sunday stitch, and this is how far I got over the 2 Sundays. Now I only worked on this in the evening, so it's only had maybe about 4 hours of work. And again, looking at it, you think, well, you didn't get very far, but there's a lot of color changes and a lot of stitches. So I am stitching it on a piece of 40 count sand by Picture This Plus with the called for threads 1/2. Absolutely love working on this one. I love the border. I love those sharp angles. I think it just looks really classy and elegant. And I'm looking forward to getting back to this one on Sunday. So it's so beautiful. And when I get this one done, it is going to hang in my bedroom, which I have kind of been posting pictures. I've been kind of working on my bedroom again. I know a lot of you guys are interested in a bedroom tour, and I had a couple things I needed to work on and fix. There's still something I need to kind of finish before I can do that bedroom tour. But I posted a picture of the sampler wall that is on one of the smaller walls in my bedroom. My bedroom is not very big, but I did sort of like a collage of some of my finishes. This is one of the ones that is going to go on that wall when it is finished. But I have been posting pictures of it, and thank you to everybody for all of your kind comments. It's always really nerve-wracking because I'm still learning how to decorate. And in my mind, I know how I want things to look and turn out, and making it look the way that I envision it can be a challenge. But I have, I feel like the room's really coming together. There's just a couple more things I have to do, and then I definitely will do a bedroom tour. But thank you for all of the kind comments when I did post a photo of what it looks like so far. I really like it. I think it just makes the whole room look nice and cozy. I have pretty much exclusively been working on one project over these past 2 weeks, and that is the Elizabeth Furniss 1836 sampler by Hands Across the Sea Samplers. So I'm stitching this with Yvette and Becky, Socks for Mom, and Christy, Crosshatch Quilts. And so whenever I work on it, I like to work until I get a page finish. Only my pages are quite, there's more pages, and I think I talked about this in my last video. So Yvette's booklet, it came out, or she picked it up right after it came out. So her chart is over 12 pages, and mine is over 22. So when she was talking about doing a page finish a month and it only taking 12 months, and I looked at my book and I saw that there was a lot more pages, I decided to, because I like the idea of doing a page finish every month and then getting it finished at the end of September next year. Again, I'm not gonna, if it doesn't work out, that's okay. I would like to get it finished next year. So this is definitely one of my focus pieces. But Yvette will let me know where the page breaks are, and then that way I can also sort of keep up with her as well. One of the things I didn't do last month that I do like to do is whenever there is a motif, even if it's a partial motif on the page, I like to stitch the whole motif, and I didn't do that. I just kind of stopped where the page break was. And I've decided to go ahead and stitch, if there's part of a motif on a page, I'm going to go ahead and stitch the whole motif. And I did see that Yvette had done that because she finished her page, and she showed us a picture of it. And so I'm like, that's definitely also what I'm going to do. So here is my progress. So I'm still working on it. I do need to finish the tree that is down there towards the bottom. And then once I finish the tree, there is another little basket that is right in this area right here. So I will stitch the basket, and then hopefully by the end of the weekend, I will be done working on my page, and then I can move on to working back on Harvest I Grow. And then I would like to get that one finished by the end of this month. But I really, really, really enjoy working on this piece. It's so gorgeous. And I'm stitching it on a piece of a 40 count Bee's Knees by Seraphim Fabrics, and I am using the DMC that is listed in the chart. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So last night I pretty much worked just on that tree area, but I got all of the tree bark done. And then tonight I will go and fill in the rest of the leaves. So I love working on this. I think the page break, it went, so it was part of, well, let me show it this way. So the page break, so I am working down this side here, and the page went through the flower and then down this way and across this way. And when I looked ahead at the next page, which is the one that's right in here, I saw that it had all of this grass to do, and I thought, yeah, I'm definitely going to go ahead and just work a little bit ahead. So I love it, love it, love it. So I'm stitching it with DMC. So this is the big batch of DMC. I went ahead and instead of working from bobbins like I normally do, I just went ahead and fully kitted it with the DMC because it does take a lot of thread. And whatever I don't use, there's plenty of other samplers that call for kind of the same threads, and so those will just go into the kits when I am done with this one. But since I'll be working on this one for a long time, I just went ahead and got all the DMC for it. So I really, really do love working on this piece. It's just so gorgeous, and it's really hard to put her down. Really, really hard. So last video, I talked a little bit about how I am going to personalize this for my great-grandparents. And the reason why the verse is missing from my stitch piece is because I have decided to stitch my grandparents' name, my great-grandparents' names where the verse is. So it will have their full name, and then I'm going to go ahead and do date of birth, date of death on either side. And then I wasn't sure what to do about this middle section here. I liked that cartouche a lot. And Denise said, why don't I put their wedding date there? And I was like, that is genius. Why didn't I think of that? So that's exactly what I am going to do. So when I go and chart my great-grandparents' names, I'm going to make sure that I pick a number font that is going to, fill this cartouche up really well. Instead of just having like a tiny little date, I want it to kind of fill that section up a little bit. Not completely up, but just enough so it looks like it was done on purpose. So thank you to Denise for suggesting that, because I honestly would not have thought about that. And I really do like how that little cartouche is sort of separating the two sides. And I wanted to find a way to keep it, but I wasn't sure how to do it. So putting their wedding date there is genius. And thank you again for that suggestion. Okay, so my plans going forward for the next 2 weeks is to continue working on Christmas Joy, ES Spot Sampler on Sunday, and then finish the page of Elizabeth Furniss. Once I finish Christmas Joy, I am going to, and this is a suggestion from my husband. So he had come out, I was out working in the other room, and he had come out and had his phone, and I don't know what made him stumble across this, but he came out and he said, I should stitch one of these little Santas for our Santa tree. And I looked at it, and it was Old World Santas by Prairie Schooler. And I thought, well, I have that chart. That's perfect. I can definitely do that as a morning stitch. So I go out to look to see, to go grab Old World Santa, bring it in. I was going to have him pick one of the Santas, and then that's what I was going to stitch. I looked everywhere and I could not find it. I could have sworn I had it, and I can't figure out what I did with it. I don't have a lot of places where I keep my cross stitch. I have my kitted projects, and then I have 4 magazine holders, and that's where I keep all of my charts. I don't have like a huge, stash, so it's not like there's a lot of places for them to get misplaced. And I searched everywhere. I even opened up some of the bags thinking maybe, I had, stashed it in there with one of the other Christmas projects I want to work on, and I just don't have it. I don't know what made me think I did. I don't know. Anyway, while I was searching, I found this one. So I showed it to him and he picked out this Santa right here for me to stitch. So once Christmas Joy is done, I will stitch that one. Okay, so I did have a brand new finish over the past 2 weeks, and I did show this one in my last video, but I didn't have it fully finished. So yesterday I decided to finally fully finish it, and here it is. So this is Pumpkins and Bittersweet by the Scarlett House, and I stitched it on a piece of 40 count Dusty Road by Seraphim Fabrics with various overdyed flosses, 1/2. I love it. I love how tiny it turned out. And I was trying to think about how I wanted to display this one. And all of the pillows that, or all the small pillows that are in the trench bowl, they're all kind of like plump. And there's room, but if I make a bunch of plump ones, I'll run out of room. So I was thinking about what if I made it look more like a bed pillow? So it still was a small pillow, but it was sort of on the narrow side. So I did it that way. I used a combination of sawdust and polyester fiberfill. Kind of wished I would have just done the sawdust, but I wasn't sure if I could make it look like a small bed pillow. And I'm still trying to decide if I should just pop it open, take everything out, and then restuff it with sawdust. But I like it. And so I use Civil War reproduction. So this is fabric from the line Civil War Medleys by Judy Rothermel. And I had a little bit left over from another quilt that I had put together. So I use this as the backing. I just sewed around the 4 sides and then I whip stitched it in the bottom. And then it fits right here in the trench bowl. Kind of. It's going to flop over in like 2 seconds. Anyway, so I think it looks pretty good. I like that, again, I like that it was just kind of sort of on the narrow side. I don't know if it will stay that way. I didn't do any trim or I didn't add any extras to it. I just wanted it to kind of be simple for right now, and then I'll kind of revisit it down the road and see if I want to make it a little bit more plump or if I want to add anything to it. I was trying to avoid it looking the same as the one it's sitting next to right here, because that one I added a little bit of fabric on the side, and there's another one that's got fabric on the bottom. So I was trying to make it so that it was like its own unique one and it didn't look like the other ones in the bowl. I don't know why I'm like that. I try to make them all look a little bit different. Somehow they all end up looking the same. So I thought, well, I will really try to make this one look different than all of the other ones. So we'll see. I kind of like it. I mean, you know me, I'm a simple girl, so I just kind of like simple finishes. That just kind of makes me happy. But occasionally I always think maybe I should add some chenille trim or something. But then I would have to go order it and wait for it to come, and it's just easier just to finish it just like that. So I like it. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Again, I might just decide to open it back up and make it a little bit more plump. But for right now, it just kind of smooshes right there. And yeah, we'll see. Let's move on to previous finishes. The first one is Mighty Acorn by Blackbird Designs. So I stitched this one last year and I did frame it myself. So this particular piece of frame molding I purchased from the Home Depot, and it was actually originally for Anne Priest, but it got cut wrong, so it was perfect for this one. I stained it myself in my favorite color of stain, which is espresso. And I stitched it on a piece of 36 count Legacy with the called for threads 1/2. And I love this one. It's been hanging out in the other room, so I've had it up with my Halloween decorations. So I have really been enjoying this piece for the past couple of months. Love it, love it. Next one is Thanksgiving Comes Again by the Prairie Schooler. So I stitched this back in 2019. I started the pumpkin when I was at the, what was it called? Fall Fling. That was hosted by Acorns and Threads. It was my very first retreat. And I took this piece specifically there so I could start it because I wanted to have that memory. I stitched it on a piece of either 28 count or 32 count linen that I tea coffee dyed. I did stitch it with the called for DMC, and I stitched it 2/2. And I had it framed by Acorns and Threads. Such a beautiful piece. Love it. This also has been one that I've had out. It was out with the Halloween decorations as well. But I'm going to be sad when I have to put them away. This next one was one that when I first got back into cross stitching, it was one of the first like handful that I did. It is a freebie that is still available on the Primitive Hairs blog, and it is called Give Thanks. It's also my first attempt at framing way back when I started cross stitching. It is a horrible framing job, but I did go in this year and I popped off the back to see, if I could go in and refinish it, but I cut it to the exact size of the frame. So there is no way I could go in and try to finish it any other way. So it will stay like this. It looks very prim. I'm going to say that. I stitched it with it could have been the called for DMC. I also could have done a conversion as well, but I did stitch it with DMC. I think I stitched on a piece of 28 count linen that I purchased from Michael's. I don't remember if it had a name. It came in a tube. And so it was also one of the first times I had really worked with linen too. And I stitched it 2/2. So I do love it. I know it probably doesn't look the best, but I do love it. I think it's really sweet. The next one is Cinnamon Stars by Plum Street Samplers. So I stitched this, I believe, on a piece of 32 count vintage country mocha with DMC threads, and I stitched it 2/2. I had this one previously finished in a different frame. The frame fitted width-wise, but height-wise it didn't. And so when I started making my own frames, this was one that I went ahead and redid. And I also stained it in the espresso stain that I used for Anne Priest and for Mighty Acorn. I've used it for a bunch of stuff. I really like that color. A lot of the stuff in my bedroom, I stained it with that because it just went really well together with everything else. So I think I worked on this piece maybe 2017. I hadn't been cross stitching a whole long time, but I do remember this. I don't know if it had just come out or if there was a stitch along or what the deal was, but I remember seeing it everywhere and I just had to stitch it. So that one was a lot of fun to work on. All right, so the next one is Turkey Hollow Farms by Stacy Nash. So I stitched this on a piece of 35 count antique white with the called for threads 1/2. When I was done stitching it, I did distress it with the Primitive Antiquing Spray by Primitive Gatherings. The frame was purchased from the Goodwill, and I can't remember if I had to cut it down or if my husband had to cut it down or if it was the perfect size, but I did paint it and then distress it in the rusty crusty style that I love. And I actually really love this piece. I love how it turned out. It's been out in the other room hanging all autumn. One thing that I changed was up here where it says Turkey Hollow on the chart. It has you stitch. It's like a little sign drops down and you stitch, the outline of the sign and then you fill it in. And I opted not to do that. And then right here, The farmer in the chart is holding a rifle, and I stitched mine holding a rake. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a story. It's story time with Pumpkin Hollow. Okay, so last year I finished my piece and I showed it in my video and was like, ta-da! And I explained that, I had eliminated the sign and I gave the farmer a pitchfork or a rake. And I think I made the comment of at Turkey Hollow Farms, we eat the pumpkins or we eat chicken. I don't remember what I said. Anyway, while I was working on this piece, I was really worried about stitching the farmer having a rifle, because doing these videos, it does, you're out in the world and there are keyboard trolls who they watch every single video and they look for something that either you've said wrong or they just look for everything, and then they will leave you a comment. They'll pounce and then they'll leave a comment, and it's never nice. So I had told Yvette that I was really worried about stitching the farmer holding a rifle, because I didn't want to deal with the keyboard trolls. I mean, nobody does, okay? So she told me that she was going to stitch hers holding a rake. And so I said, I'm going to copy you. That's a genius idea. It makes everybody happy, right? Well, the day that I showed my finish, I filmed on Friday and I uploaded the video for Saturday morning. And first thing Saturday morning that I see is a comment from a keyboard troll. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what did I say? And so I read the comment and it started off with saying, "You ignorant, stupid little girl," which is such a great way to start off a video. "You need to go get a history lesson. How do you think people got turkeys before the invention of grocery stores?" Now, the whole time I'm stitching this piece, I'm just worried about what people will say, because the rifle, or those farmers holding the rifle, I never thought that it would come from the other way. So it goes to show you can't make everybody happy. But anyway, obviously that was a very unnecessary and very unkind comment, and I'm sure it was a long message too. I mean, it wasn't just like one sentence. I mean, it was a whole like 5 paragraphs of this woman venting over my stupidity at leaving off something or, swapping in something else. And, she probably typed it all out, felt pretty good about herself, went on about her day thinking she's a great person. And honestly, I thought she was the meanest person on the planet. So, so I'm reading this, and obviously there are words that are spilling out of my mouth that I can't repeat on this channel because my grandma might watch. But I was pretty teed off. So I took a picture of it. That's the only thing I could do. I took a picture of it and sent it to my friends. And then I went back onto the comment, I deleted the comment, and then I pretty much did the only thing that I can do, and that is block her from the channel. So she can watch the video, she just isn't allowed to comment anymore. And quite honestly, I highly doubt she ever came back, because I'm pretty positive that if she had watched my video, she would know that when it comes to history, I could bore you senseless. And I do know what people did, before the event of grocery stores. I come from a very long line of hunters and gatherers in my family. And, if push came to shove, I would do what needed to be done to get food for my family. But I highly doubt she ever came back. And, again, what can you do, right? You can't make the keyboard trolls happy no matter what you do. But because of that, every time I look at this piece, I think about her. And I probably will for the rest of my life, but that's fine. I love this piece. I love how it turned out. To me, the farmer's hanging out in the field watching his dog play. So there you go. All right, story time over. Next up is Where the Bittersweet Blooms by With Thy Needle and Thread. So this one I finished, I think back in 2019. And I found at Michael's, they have an unfinished wood section. And this one was a chalkboard. And so the chalkboard is back here. And then of course the wood it was unpainted. So when I finished this piece, I measured it and I thought it would fit perfectly in here. I mean, obviously I have a little bit of lip here, but I thought that would be okay. I went, painted it, distressed it, put this, I believe it is, I'm pretty positive it might be sticky board. I think I was using sticky board back in 2019, but I can feel that there is a piece of batting underneath here. So I used 2 pieces of sticky board. I used some Civil War reproduction that I had in my stash at that time, and I finished it. And I think it looks really good. I like it. I don't remember what I stitched it on. I am guessing it is probably 32 count. And I stitched it with some DMC and then some of the called for threads. And I stitched it 2/2. And then these flowers here were ones that I just had in my stash. So I kind of, floofed them until they looked pretty. I'm not very good at floral arranging. So this actually hangs as you come in the front door there. So it hangs, and then there's a wooden candle primitive sconce that hangs up above it. All right, so this next one is a freebie by Plum Street Samplers. It is a freebie that I found on her blog, and it is called Bok Bok. So this is one that I know I did right when I got back into cross stitching. I stitched it on a piece of Ada that I happen to have in my stash, and that I had probably had in my stash since I was 12. I stitched it with, I think it was charted in DMC, because I would not have known about over dyed threads. I was like, I thought I knew a lot about cross stitching because I had done it previously, but then, getting back into cross stitching at that time, I knew like nothing. So I would have used the DMC that I would have had in my one little box where they were bobbinated, and I would have stitched it with the DMC that I had in my stash at that time. I think it was like a oatmeal color. And I stitched it 2/2. I don't remember what count it is. It looks like maybe a 16, maybe. But it was a lot of fun. And this, so this wooden pumpkin here, the year before, my grandma and I had went out. It was the day after Christmas. We went to the mall. I forget why she had to go. And while I was waiting in line for her to return something, I saw this pumpkin at Kohl's, and it was like 75 cents. So I scooped it right up. And he has been in there ever since. So a lot of fun. It's always fun to revisit some of these really, really old ones and remembering when I started it. And I can remember putting it into a hoop, and I remember stitching it in bed at night. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. All right, and one last one. This one I also stitched right after I finished Bok Bok. This was also a free one that I had found somewhere on the internet. I think I had typed in free Thanksgiving cross stitch designs, and it brought me to this one website. I cannot remember what it was because there's a Christmas one that I did from the same website, and I think it's a website where they also sold charts and fabric and linen and things like that, but they also had a collection of like freebies as well. Don't remember what the name of this is. And he's super cute. And then I just finished it into this little pillow. This button right here came from my grandma's button stash. It's a really, really old one. And I just made it into a little pillow. I think this is fabric that I used on Hocus Pocusville. that I had left over. And then I had a little bit of this homespun and some of this other stuff in my stash. I just kind of threw everything together, and then I used some rickrack that I also had. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And again, it's so much fun revisiting some of these older ones that I remember stitching. I used the same count and piece of Ada that I used for Bok Bok on this one as well. That's so cute. So he hangs out in my tree. I've had him in the trench bowl a couple of times, but he pretty much always hangs out in the seasonal tree. All right, I lied. There's still one more. So there is this little one. So I think this was supposed to be a scissor fob, and I just turned it into a little ornament. This also was a freebie that I had found somewhere online. It's just two little pumpkins, and it says pumpkins down below it. I did stitch this onto a piece of linen. So this one I would have done maybe the next year, but lots of fun. I have two of them. So they're, I think I made one for a scissor fob, and then I made the other one for an ornament, and both of them ended up in the tree. And I think it's around the side a little bit. But a lot of fun to see some of these old ones. I hope someday I will just have a ton of like finished cross stitch pieces for each and every holiday that I can bring out and show and remember stitching on it back in, 2022, and it's like 2040. So speaking of finished pumpkins, I did receive a wonderful package over the past 2 weeks. Marlies, and I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. Marlies had contacted me and said she wanted to send me a little something. So she sent me this thank you card. And she sent me these adorable little pumpkins. And I guess when she was at the Prims Stitchers Retreat, which I think was in September, and it's one of those retreats that I hope to go to someday because it looks like a ton of fun and right up my alley. But when she was attending the retreat, they had these little pumpkins that you could make and take. And so she made some there and then went home and made some. And she sent them to me. So I have had them in the trench bowl and then on either side, and I've kind of displayed them, every which way. They basically stayed like in this area, but I love them. I just think they are so adorable. These are real pumpkin stems. So I'm thinking this year I might need to go and when my pumpkins are done for the season, I might have to go out and whack off their stems and save them so I can do something like that for myself. I've seen all sorts of different things that you can do with pumpkin stems, so I think I need to start saving them. One thing I forgot to talk about when I was showing Elizabeth Furniss, so this is what she looks like. When I talked about it in my last video, I talked about how I am personalizing it with my great-grandparents' name, and that they both came from St. Joseph, Missouri, Troy, Kansas area. There was a number of you guys who you either lived in that area or you're from that area. A few of you gave me some great places where I can go, maybe do some more genealogy research than what I have already, what I've been able to find on Family Search and Ancestry. Sometimes getting information like on Ancestry for Kansas or Missouri, it is kind of hard. So having those other resources like directly from the source, I'm hoping maybe I will get a little bit farther back. And I do plan on talking a little bit more about them I usually do a video at the beginning of the year where I talk about my new year, new start and my plans for the coming year. So in that video, I will talk a little bit more in depth on Elizabeth and how I am personalizing it with my great-grandparents' names, maybe talking about them a little bit. But the family pretty much lived in the St. Joseph, Missouri, Troy, Kansas area for quite a while. So it was the lime box, and then of course there was the wagon kikes, the Rothrock? No. What is their last names? It's like on the tip of my tongue. It is Roderick. Sorry. It's because the farther you go back in the tree, so it's from Swedish descent, which I had no idea that they were, or that I was even. I just assumed I was German and that was it, but I have found out that that's not true. I am quite a lot of things. I am Swedish, Dutch. I'm a little bit German, but I'm way more Czechoslovakian and Austrian, and there's one other country that I was like, really? So that was kind of fun to find out. Bavarian, like Bavaria and places like that. Also, gypsies from Transylvania area, which was really cool to discover, and it explains a little bit. Anyway, so in that video that I do at the beginning of the year, and I will talk a little bit more in depth about how I'm going to personalize it with my great grandparents' names and kind of some of the information that I have found out thus far. And I completely forgot to talk about that. I had it on a sticky note, but thank you to all of those who have left comments, who gave me the name of some resources that I can look into, as well as volunteered to go down to the library in St. Joseph, Missouri to find the information for me. I am going to take you up on that. Okay, moving along. My last video, quite honestly, I could tuck your ears black and blue with family research, honestly. It could be like an 8-hour video if you ever just wanted to fall asleep. But in my last video, I did have a giveaway. Thank you so much to everybody who played along. The question that I had asked was, are you decorating, is your house decorated for Thanksgiving, or are you all Christmas? I was really surprised at how many people decorate for Thanksgiving. I have to be honest, for a long time, I thought I was the only one. But it was really cool to see. Definitely like halvesies. And again, you know, cool either way. But thank you so much for playing along. So the winners of the giveaway, when I call your name, what you'll need to do is contact me via email, and I will put my contact information down below. Send me your address and I will get your prize out in the mail to you very, very soon. So the first prize was for the month-to-month sticker set by Stitching with the Housewives. And the winner is Les Williams. Number 2 was for the cross stitch journal, and the winner is Bio Boy Stitcher. Number 3 is for Christmas Garden by Blackbird Designs, and the winner is Tanya Parente. It's I apologize if I misspell or missay it, but it's the last name is Parente. Number 4 was for the Vintage Housewife, and the winner is Char J57. And number 5 is for the Overlarge Project Bag, and the winner is Debbie Mason. So congratulations again to all of the winners. Get a hold of me via email and I will send your prize out in the mail to you next week. You can also get in touch with me via Instagram as well, or Facebook, and I'll put all that information down below too. This video also has a giveaway. There are 5 prizes up for grabs. What you will need to do, what I would like, is if you are a subscriber, like the video, and then comment your answer down below. Because there are 5 prizes up for grabs, you will need to put which ones you are interested in winning, because that is how I search for the giveaway winners when I go in to pull the winners. So the first prize, and number 1, is from the Prairie Schooler. It is the 2018 Santa. So this is number 1. Number 2 is the Scarlett House's American Farmhouse. Number 3 is Where Liberty Dwells. Boy, I said that wrong. Number 3 is Where Liberty Dwells by Brenda Gervais. And this is a number 3. Again, sometimes I feel like the words just like want to come all out at the same time. You Are the Boss Cross Stitch by Lori Holt. This is number 4. And number 5 is Emily's House by Lindy Stitches. So if you are interested in any or all of them, the question that you will need to answer is, what is your favorite linen company to stitch on. And the reason why I'm asking that is because I'm trying to expand my horizons a little bit. And occasionally I will hear other floss tubers talk about various different dyers. And sometimes I don't quite catch the name, or they'll just say like the name of the linen, but not the actual designer. So I'm trying to broaden my horizons a little bit, maybe find some other linens to get down the road and stitch on. So if I were answering the question, I would say Seraphim Fabrics is my favorite linen to stitch on. It can also be Aida, so just your favorite linen or Aida that you enjoy stitching on. What is the dyer designer's name or the company? And leave that down below. I hope that makes sense. But leave that answer down below and then indicate which charts you are interested in winning. And in my next video, I will announce the winners. And as always, thank you so very much for playing along. Well, my friends, as far as all of the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to show and share in today's video. The plan for me will be to be back in 2 weeks, and I will then be decorated for Christmas. And I'm hoping I will have some previous Christmas finishes to show in that video. I was trying to think today what I have finished to date, and I can only remember 2 things, and those were the 2 things I stitched last year. So I'm hoping there's more. I should go back and look at like my previous pictures and see, what I've got. I know that's definitely, I know I need to work on Christmas stitching. I know. Anyway, so if you're not interested in hearing about the quilts, this is a great stopping off point. And of course, I will be back in 2 weeks, and you can always see what I'm up to on Instagram and Facebook. And I will put all of that information down below if you are interested. Otherwise, let's talk about quilts. All right, quilts. Where do I want to start? I thought that I had more Thanksgiving autumn quilts than I do. And I went and I looked to go pull the quilts to show in today's video, and I have 1. And I looked around at all of the quilts that I have out, and I realized they're all my Civil War quilts that I have done. And the one that I thought, well, I could probably show it because it kind of looks like autumn, is the one that's going to hang behind me in January. So I definitely didn't want to show that one again. So I went and looked in the bins, and thinking that I just didn't bring them out this year because I had decided to leave my Civil War quilts up. And I just don't have any. I must have left some of the Halloween quilts up last year, and that's what I had out. I honestly, I don't know. Maybe I didn't show any last year. I don't know. And I don't know why, being the autumn lover that I am, why I don't have more autumn quilts than just the 2 that I have in the house right now. So I'll show that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the blocks that I have been working on. So I started back on my Hope's Journey blocks. And here is the book. So this is by Betsy Chuchian. And my friend Retha and I broke up the chapters into months. So technically, being that it's November now, I should have September and October blocks done, and I should have been working on November. That did not happen. I have September's blocks done, which I showed in a previous video, and I have 1 October block done. And here it is. Super sad. Now, my plan had been the weekend before last to work on the blocks that were needed for October's blocks, and then I would technically be caught up to November, but that didn't quite happen. I only managed to get this one done. So I am using a Civil War reproduction fabric. I also am using a few pieces from Joe Morton's fabric line, Adamstown. And originally when I purchased the Adamstown bundle, I thought the whole thing could go into the Hope's Journeys quilt. However, upon looking through the different months, I realized I'm going to need various colors. So I took the fabric bundle that I bought, the fat quarter bundle that I bought, and I just went ahead and put it into my stash. So this is what I have so far. And I feel really bad. I feel like I just continue to fall farther and farther behind with it. I'm not sure why. So hopefully I can work on getting the rest of October's blocks done. So I need to do one of these. So it's pine tree. And I need to do a broken dishes. I think that might be it. Yes, that is it. So I am hoping that I can possibly get them done over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to try really, really hard because I would ultimately like to have this one done in a year from when I started it. I just don't know. I feel like I will think about all the things I want to do over the 2 weeks, and I say out loud to the universe, I'm going to do Hope's Journey, and I'm going to work on this one, and then something always comes up and just totally wrecks it. I have been working on project bags too, so that has also been a lot of it. And I realize I forgot to mention this a little bit earlier in the video. I get asked a lot when I will be returning to making project bags and adding them to my Etsy shop. And I have been doing that over the past week and a half. So there are bags available now if you're interested, and I will continually add them as we go along. So the next one I have been working on is Block Bonanza. Here it is. So my November blocks arrived on Tuesday. So I worked on a couple of them last night. So the weird thing is, as I've went through the year, each month they've only sent 4 blocks. And last month they sent this whole entire row here. So there were 7 of them to do last month. And then this month they sent this whole entire bottom row to do. So I have another 7 blocks to do. And I'm assuming December will be the finishing. So it'll be all of these blue blocks that you see here. It looks like it's just 2 fabrics and then the 2 borders. So I'm getting excited. It soon will be finished and I can't wait. So that's kind of been my priority too when I do get a chance to work on quilting. If I have Block Bonanza blocks that I need to do, then that's usually where I spend my time because I'm almost at the end of the block of the month. I will be, so once I have these blocks done, all 7 of them, I will have every single sampler block complete, and then next month the finishing should arrive, and then hopefully I can get it finished by the end of the year. It'd be really cool to have it done. I can't wait. The Block Bonanza, so I decided to do mine in Joe Morton's fabric line Rose. So that is what the whole quilt is out of, is the Rose collection. And it's a beautiful fabric line. I also heard that Joe Morton is retiring and that Adamstown was her last fabric line, which is super sad to think about, especially since, you know, I found my way back to reproduction fabric and Civil War, and she's one of my favorite designers. And I wish I would have found her a lot sooner than when I did. And it's super sad that she is retiring, but well deserved. She has been in the fabric industry a really long time. So this is one that I did last night. And this is the other block. So very beautiful. And I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. So obviously the priority will be to work on those Block Bonanza blocks and then Hope's Journey, because I would like to catch up. I really would. I don't want to, the more months that go by and the farther you fall behind, it's really hard to catch up. And before I know it, it'll just be pushed to the side and forgotten about for a little while. Now, a couple of videos back, I did have a question about, will I be doing a block of the month in this coming new year of 2023? And my response was no. I hadn't come across a block of the month. My plan was going to be to work on the ones that I already have, and I meant that. And then I found out Judy Rothermel has a new fabric line coming out next year. And how I found out was every once in a while, like every month, month and a half, I will go onto the Fat Quarter Shop's website and I will go into their coming soon and then the 1800s theme. And I'll look and see what new fabric lines are coming out. And they're usually pretty, like good about posting, at least 6 months in advance. You can kind of see what that new fabric line is. So I went and I looked and I saw Vintage Charm by Judy Rothermel pop up. And right next to it was the most spectacular quilt I have ever seen. And they're doing it as a block of the month. So I caved immediately and signed up, mostly because it's Judy Rothermel fabric and I love her so much. So I will be doing a block of the month next year. It starts in May, so it runs May 23 to January 24, so it's 9 months. It looks like it's a doozy of a quilt, lots of half square triangles, my favorite. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing the fabric line. They have like a picture of the whole line together, just a little picture of it, but it looks pretty awesome. And with a name like Vintage Charm, I caved pretty fast. So it gives me a little bit of time to finish Civil War Tribute, which as soon as Block Bonanza done, as soon as I have Block Bonanza complete, I will be going pedal to the metal on Civil War Tribute quilt so I can get it done. Okay, so the one and only quilt I have to show in today's video. I still can't believe I don't have more Thanksgiving quilts. So this one, I remember we had went to the beach. The kids were like really little. And I had only really been quilting maybe 3-ish years. And so we went to Newport and there, I think it's still there. There was a quilt shop in Newport, Oregon. And I think the quilt shop is still there. I believe it was called Quilter's Paradise. And she had this quilt in her shop hanging up, and I saw it and I just really loved it. And Brian actually, he bought it for me because I think our anniversary was coming up, and he said, I'll get it for you for our anniversary. So I got it kitted up at the shop. I don't think this was the fabric that I used. It wasn't the one that was hanging up in the shop because I wanted mine to look more autumny. I did use batik, so it was kind of the first time I had ever really worked with batiks. And for many years it hung here until I got some other quilts done, and then those were the ones that hung here. So I basically kind of retired it, but I still get it out every year. I do not remember what the name of it is. I tried looking through all of my patterns to see if I still had it, and I think I might have gave it to a friend many years ago. If you recognize it, let me know what it is. But here it is. So again, just a small space to show these quilts. I use 3 colors, so I had the 2 batiks, and I'm pretty sure this is a batik too, so I used 3 different batiks. And it was also kind of the first time I had worked with sewable fusible interfacing, or heat and bond, I believe is what it's called. And I just quilted it with a simple meandering pattern because I was new to my quilt machine as well. So very pretty. And I do like this one a lot. And again, it hung for many years and I did retire it. I'm trying to think when I started filming out here. I'm pretty sure I started filming out here during COVID, I think. So I would have finished that one. So yeah, I don't think I ever did a video where this was hanging in the background. So yeah, a lot of fun. I remember working on that one. It took me a couple of weeks, and it was all on point. So that was the first quilt I'd ever done where anything was set on point. and working with like those tiny, there's like a really tiny border around all of the blocks. So just kind of working with a really tiny border. But it was a lot of fun. You know, it taught me a lot because, again, I was kind of fairly new into quilting at that time. So it definitely like taught me a lot about working with batiks. They're not my favorite. I've done a couple of batik quilts. Um, my aunt loves them. She makes spectacular quilts using batik fabrics, but for me, it never really was my jam. But I've made a few. I have a throw that's put away right now that's batik, and I've made a couple and I've given them away as gifts. They make great gifts because all those batik colors play really well together. I mean, you can have bright batiks and you can pair them with something very muted and they just look gorgeous. But yeah, it was never really my cup of tea. But I definitely can appreciate the beauty of them. Well, my fabulous friends, that brings me to the end of my video. If you've stuck around for this length of time, I really do appreciate it so very much. The plan will be to be back in 2 weeks, and I will have a whole new batch of Christmas quilts to show because I do know I have a bunch of those. There was a couple of years where I remember I went just crazy pants for making Christmas quilts. And I still have one out underneath the quilt machine that I made probably 5-6 years ago, and it's still waiting to be quilted. And I don't know why I haven't done it yet. But I just remember I was pumping those quilts out just left and right. I started working on them in the summer, and I think I bought a couple of kits, and there is a quilt shop that's near to me. It's Sweet Treasures in Kaiser, Oregon. It's not one where she's open to the public, but she will have open studio days where you can go in and shop. But otherwise, she does a lot of classes, and then you go to the classes, and then you can shop her fabrics. But I remember my friend Retha and I went and took like a bunch of classes, and it was all Christmas quilts. And I just remember working on those, just it seemed like constantly. And so I have quite a few Christmas quilts, and they're all in the very traditional bright Christmas colors because I know that's the kind of the Christmas colors that my husband likes. So, and he really loves Christmas, so he puts up with my craziness for Halloween and Thanksgiving. And so I make sure that when Christmas rolls around, I really make the house explode. So I'm looking forward to sharing all of those with you guys next time. I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving, and I am very thankful for all of you. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll do my best to answer them directly, or I'll answer them in my next video. And I appreciate you stopping by today and spending a little bit of your time with me. If you'd like to see what I'm up to in between my videos, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. I do have a Facebook page called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting, and I'll put a link to both of those down below. Hope you have a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.